Is Mantis the best strategist for DPS players? This is Kurt from Rank Up, and here's 5 tips on how to be undefeatable on Mantis. Thanks for tuning in today. This is a video where I'm going through a few different tips on how to improve your gameplay on Mantis, who seems to be quite an underrated character at the moment in Marvel Rivals. She has a really balanced kit, and she can offer a lot of value to most team compositions. And yeah, this video, I thought there's a lot of probably DPS mains who, you know, when there's already 2 DPS players on their team, they might have to fill as support, and they might not really enjoy other supports quite as much or get as much sort of results out of other strategists. So I wanted to break down a little bit about how you could play Mantis as a DPS main, as a lot of her skills will cross over with DPS players. So yeah, I thought this would be a good opportunity to kind of go through that and have a look at potential ways that you can really get the most out of her. So yeah, the first tip is that Mantis is obviously good for DPS players because she can dish out a lot of damage, and she can also boost her own damage output. Now, also inbuilt with her kit is the fact that she refills her leaves, which are obviously what allow her to buff, heal, and buff herself as well. So her 3 kind of core abilities, let's say, buffing herself, buffing her allies, and healing her allies, all require 1 leaf. However, if she hits, I mean, the leaves regen over time slowly, but if she hits a headshot, they'll instantly refill 1 leaf per headshot. So if you're a DPS player and your aim is quite good, not like mine, I'm not really that. I've just changed my sensitivity, so please do give me a little bit of grief on this video, as I'm trying to get used to a lower DPI. But yeah, she can buff her. She can, because of the way that it works with the headshots, she can buff herself, aim for headshots, and she deals a surprisingly high amount of damage. So there's really a lot of value to be had from, I think, players. Just, it doesn't have to be DPS mains, just players with, you know, good accuracy in general. I think they can really get a lot out of Mantis' kit. She can really almost duel, you know, with enemy, depending on the DPS. She can almost duel, especially when you bring into the mix her sleep ability, you know, where she can put she sort of sedates the enemy for, I think, a second or so, maybe 1.5 seconds. If you get a Black Panther on you or a Spider-Man on you, and you can, you know, hit your stun on them, your sleep on them, if you are already powered up, I think 2 to 3 headshots you can one-tap them, and obviously they're not moving. So she's really good at self-peeling. So yeah, that's the first tip, is that, you know, she's great. She's a great choice for DPS players. She has a lot of damage potential, and yeah, don't be afraid to use it. So yeah, moving on to tip number 2. It's very important when playing Mantis to strike the right balance. You've got a lot of options in your kit, as we've already spoken about, but as much as I said you do have freedom with this character to push forward and deal a lot of damage, of course, you know, your main use for your team is still going to be a healer. I mean, the same with most strategists, apart from, you know, 1 or 2. You're still going to be crucial for keeping your tanks alive, for keeping your damage DPSs alive. So you really need to focus on that. You know, that is your bread and butter, let's say, is healing. Now, Mantis heals quite different to most other healers in the game, where she actually does a fairly small amount of heal. I think it's around 80 healing, it might be 70, 80 when you initially heal someone, and then you give them a a healing over time boost. If you look at the sort of right side of the screen, you can always see who's got the boost and how long's left of it. So it's really important to always keep your tanks healing, basically. You need to always keep your tanks with as much as you can with that healing over the time, when you're in fights, obviously. If you're, you know, just wipe them, you don't need to use it. But when you're going into fights, it's really important to keep that healing over time on your tanks. Like, it's really important that they're regenerating health as consistently and as constantly as they can. But yeah, the second tip is obviously to find the balance, because There are moments where you need to give your allies damage buffs. There are moments where you need to give yourself damage buffs, and there's moments where you need to be just focused on healing and let your team, obviously, I don't want to say carry you, because you are also contributing to carrying with your healing. But yeah, you need to find that balance. It's really important. So do practice on her, try different combos, you know, test sitting towards the back and healing, test being ultra aggressive and trying to deal damage, and then once you get a little bit of sort of expertise on her, you'll start to figure out when you should be doing what. Because after you've just, you know, if you get 1 or 2 picks, your team gets 1 or 2 picks in a fight, you can really posture aggressively and start also like killing people, you know. But at the same time, don't get too involved with trying to output too much damage and then forget to heal your tank. So this is really important. So yeah, tip number 2, balance. Test a bit of everything, but just keep in mind you have sort of a duty to your team to do all 3 of the things: heal, buff, and DPS yourself, in my opinion. Tip number 3 is just simply going to be about your sleep ability. It's really important that you don't waste your sleep. If you throw your sleep out and you miss, not like you deserve to die, but there's probably a high chance that you are going to die. And it has a very long cooldown. I think it's around 12 or 13 seconds. So this sleep, when you're getting hunted down by, you know, Magix or Spider-Man, Black Panther, any kind of assassin, you need to hit your sleep. And you need to, you know, that's your only self-peel ability in terms of like CC. So it's really important that your teammates know about it, that your teammates are following up on your sleeps, and that you're hitting them. Because yeah, if you miss it, that's your bad, and you know, expect to die basically. Really be careful with that. You'll see in this video I miss it a few times, you know. You're not going to hit it every time, of course, but that needs to be your aim. Like, that needs to be what you're aiming towards, is like, I don't want to use this unless I'm sure I'm going to hit it. Like, you need to keep it like your, not your last resort, but it's like one of the most crucial parts of your kit in terms of keeping yourself alive. You see here I got like encaged in this room, which is just very silly, and the magic just wiped me out. But yeah, if I had my sleep, who knows, maybe I would have survived. So yeah, please do keep that in mind. One other small tip, if you want, we can call this a bonus tip because I'm not making it one of the 5 tips, but when you respawn and you're running back to your team, you should always be buffing yourself, because Mantis' passive ability is that anytime she uses one of her leaves, she gets healing herself, I believe, and also she gets movement speed. And because the self buff doesn't really cost much, like it regens very quickly, the leaf, when you buff yourself, every time, you know, your buff ends, you'll have another leaf. So when you're running back to your team, running back to the objective, you can use it on yourself just to get there quicker, which, yeah, I'm not sure everyone knows about that, so just a little tip that might help you out. So yeah, tip number 4, don't be afraid to be aggressive, you know, when the occasion calls for it. And I think I mentioned this a little bit before, but once you buff yourself and you're aiming for headshots, you're dealing out damage, you can really sting compared to other strategists. Not all of them have a lot of damage. I know Raccoon can do a little bit, like quite a bit of damage in a fast pace, but she has 20 hits before she has to reload, so she really has a lot of kind of constant damage in a fight. You'll be surprised, you know, some games you can output 10-15k damage, which is quite crazy for a strategist compared to some others. So yeah, this is why I mentioned, you know, this could be the best strategist for DPS players, because you can also get involved with fighting while still being really useful for your team. So positioning wise, you know, don't be afraid in the right moments to posture up and push forward and really start. You can see what I'm doing here. I'm next to my tank, I'm next to Magneto, I'm next to Penny, and I'm just trying to hit them, you know, and then I'm ulting. That's another thing, when you ult, obviously all of your surroundings are getting healed so rapidly. I mean, you're almost invincible, not fully, but almost invincible. So in those moments, make sure you don't need to heal your team anymore if they're in your ult vicinity. So make sure you're giving them damage increase, make sure you're giving yourself damage increase, and you can really posture up aggressively in these moments. See here, I'm trying to find Moon Knight, he runs away, but that's what I mean. Like, you can take fights with Mantis, you know, you can really kill people. Like, obviously, yeah, you're not a DPS champion, but you really deal a lot of damage. You see here, I've just killed Cloak and Dagger. You can really get a lot of kills, so just keep that in mind. You can be aggressive, but you see here I overextended and I got killed by the team pretty quickly. So You have to be really careful with positioning. Going back to the second tip I said, you have to really find the balance. Yeah. And then finally, tip number 5, the last tip. Always keep track of who you're currently healing. I might have touched on this briefly before, but you can see on the right side of your screen who you're currently buffing or who you're currently healing. I believe I did mention this, but it's extremely important to make sure you're always healing over time your tanks in fights. You see here I'm not doing it, and it's a mistake. I mean, I think they were on full health, so I give myself a little bit of I give myself a little bit of a pass there, but you need to always make sure the buff of your healing is always applied to your tanks. Because, yeah, this is like such an important part of your kit, like healing. Like I said, for any strategist, like healing is just so crucial in the game right now. I think it always will be. But yeah, you need to make sure that if you're in a fight, even if DPS are posturing aggressively, make sure you've got the buff on them. Even if your Rocket decides, you know what, I'm gonna just run at them, make sure he's getting healed as well. You can heal 4 people at once, like instantly with the overtime, and if you hit a headshot, if one regens, you can be giving the buff to your whole team at once, you know. So really make sure you're spreading it out, and you're giving it to everyone in your team. So yeah, that's kind of 5 tips on how you can improve with Mantis. One other thing I did want to mention was her ultimate. Obviously, her ultimate is very strong in the same kind of breath as Luna's ultimate, as Cloak's ultimate. You're buffing all of your nearby allies. You're giving all of them extra health. You're giving them an insane amount of healing at once. They are almost becoming invincible, you know, with the exception of different abilities that can one-shot you. But generally, it's really strong. In my opinion, it's best used when you're pushing forward, when you're kind of know that their supports or strategists don't have, like, if you ult on their Luna ults, that's fine, like, you know, you're both kind of trading ults, is pretty normal. But if you know that their strategist ultimates are on cooldown, then it's basically, you know, you're going to win that team fight if you ult for your team and you push with them and you start slapping out damage, as you can do so well. You're going to really have a lot of success. You see here, I think we're kind of fighting. I mean, look at my positioning. I'm next to Magneto. Like, okay, I'm jumping. I'm not trying to overcommit. But you see here, headshots. Like, I just killed their Magneto. Now I'm pushing forwards, kill their Cloak and their, I think it's their Magic. I might be wrong. No, that's their Mantis. But yeah, you can really hit hard. You see another kill, another headshot on the Cloak. Like, I'm pretty much a secondary DPS at this point. And that's why I wanted to make this video, especially for DPS mains who sometimes they have to fill in the role of strategist and not really sure who they should pick. In my opinion, Mantis is a great shout. And yeah, let me know your feedback. Let me know. Look, I'm only in sort of gold, platinum ranks at the moment, trying to rank up. This video is aimed more towards kind of bronze, silver, gold, platinum players who are trying to crack into diamond. So if anyone is watching of a higher ELO, please do let us know below if you have any extra tips on Mantis I might have missed. I'm still kind of getting used to the character myself, so I just wanted to share with you what I've learned so far. So yeah, please do, you know, leave us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, help with the algorithm, subscribe if you're new around here. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please do let me know your feedback. Let me know which character you'd like me to give some more tips on next. I'm really having fun with the game at the moment, so trying to, you know, push out a lot of content, which I hope is also useful for you, as that's my sort of objective with the channel. So yeah, all the best. Thanks for watching if you made it this far, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.